us.
All right, so welcome to the gathering. I'm going to spend a couple minutes here just sharing it out to a couple different groups. So we're going to get started officially in a couple more minutes. So let's see here. And I'm not seeing it pop up here like I think it's supposed to. There we go. All right, cool. Okay, so I got it going out to Facebook. Now it's going out to the Gil Hodges Freedom page, which if you haven't moved over there yet, I encourage you to move over to the Gil Hodges Freedom Facebook page, just because we are trying to consolidate everything into one spot on Facebook, and that's going to be the main place, even though I will be continuing, because there's just a lot of people that aren't going to move over, so I will continue to put things over there. But I encourage you, if you're wanting to stay connected, one of the best places where you'll get the most is going to be the Gil Hodges Freedom page. And that's all over my profile, given links to go over to that page on Facebook. And right now, I'm going to go in there and share this to my profile, because I know a lot of people are on there, not on the page yet. So if anybody else wants to share it, so get the word out. Facebook, YouTube, we should be live on both those right now. And happy Father's Day to everybody. Blessings to women and men alike, because everybody has had a father. So and I just want to say, whether your experience with your earthly father has been good or not so good, we still honor them for the position that they had, and we honor them in that they have helped shape and make us who we are today. Now, all of us are still on the journey to becoming who we are authentically are supposed to be. So, we have choices to make, right? And can't blame it on anybody else, not even our mother or father or anyone else. We have to make choices in order to move into who we are authentically. So I'm still working on getting some things shared here. So give me one more second, and I'll get this on my profile, I think. And so John and Evelyn, you're going to be sharing today. You want to share a little bit about what you're going to share today? And we'll get started with the worship in just a minute.
Getting to know Father is where we're going. And also identifying with Father, with God, with the Godhead, however that's defined for people.
Well, it sounds like a good topic for today. Passing on a legacy is, part of what I was, looking at today too, was passing on a legacy. It's like, I think one of the things we can do when we, as fathers or as anybody, we want to pass on a legacy. And to me, the legacy I want to pass on today is how to find freedom and be authentic. Because that, to me, is the one thing that can literally change the world. We pass it on to our children. We get to pass it on to those around us. Just the whole idea of learning to question everything. And I saw some posts that Mary Lee had made this week, and it's just so powerful and so important for us to understand how questioning everything begins to open up doors and help us find the truth. We have just, unfortunately, kind of regurgitated so much of our life, the programming that we've been given by the world. Jesus said that he overcame the world. He said he was not of this world. He encouraged us to be in the world, but not of the world. And yet I'm just throwing out numbers at this point, but I would say that 95 to 99% of our lives are lived of the world, because it's simply lived of the programming that the world has given to us. And until we get to a place where we can question everything that we believe, everything we think, everything we do, why we do the things we do, when we start questioning all that, it doesn't mean that we throw it all out. But it does mean we relook at it and determine whether or not it's something we want to keep or let go of. And then it becomes yours. At that point, it becomes yours, rather than just accepting whatever the world has given to you. and just going on autopilot. So it's so important for us to really begin that questioning process. And I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I've got some clients that I'm working with that it's just been absolutely wonderful to see the light bulb go on, to see the energy come back into their life when they realize, wait a minute, I've got this power, this superhuman power, this superpower of mine, which is called choice. I really get to start choosing what I'm going to believe and what I'm going to think and how I'm going to move and what I'm going to do. I got so many choices that when I become awake and aware, those choices become very, very powerful in guiding our lives. And so again, it's how we as fathers and mothers and all of us get to leave a legacy by sharing with the people around us this power of choice, and helping us understand that we are able to not only change ourselves, but as we become the light beacon of the one changing in the world, that others see that and they're going to want to ask you, they're going to want to know, what are you doing differently? And you get to share with them that you're just learning to be authentic. You're learning to be you, and stop just regurgitating what the world fed you, and stop just doing whatever it is you've always done, and realize you've got power to choose differently. And now, it doesn't mean it's easy. Sometimes it's really challenging. But you, and only you, have the power to make those choices to change your life and your path. So, all right. Well, I think I got it shared out to a couple places, and I'm going to go with that for now. And if anybody else wants to share it on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and do that. Again, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to everyone. Today is also the first day of our work week here at the Pearl, where we've got some people coming in to help out, to hopefully build out a couple structures in a 1,500 square foot barn that I have. So we're going to be building out some structures for people to stay in there. So we got this dilemma. We need people to help work the land, but we need places for the people to stay. So we're trying to build out some places for people to stay so that we can accommodate them. And so we are also looking for volunteers that want to come out. We definitely need builders, people that can garden, do permaculture, just everything that is needed to create an eco-village. We're looking for people of that heart and that mind. The main thing at the core, the foundation of the Pearl, is the idea of loving without conditions. So we're not asking anyone to come here and give up their beliefs. We're asking them to come here and, where the opportunities are to share. Absolutely, we want to share each other's beliefs, and we want to hear one another and love one another. But we're not looking for people that want to come and proselytize and make everybody look like them. That's not what we're looking for. But otherwise, you're more than welcome to put in an application as a volunteer to come and join us. The rents are very low, and we are, we're also going to be starting some businesses out of here that will help fund the Pearl. But if anybody is interested in making some donations, we were looking to raise $50,000 for this work week to build out 4 different rooms, build a kitchen and a bathroom, and convert this barn into a living space. So I know that there are definitely people out there that could just write a check for that. And so that would be awesome, because we've got many, many other structures that we do want to build. We're looking at ultimately building 15 to 20 tiny homes, yurts, teepees, different places for people to stay. These are meant to be permanent structures. The teepees and so forth obviously wouldn't be as permanent, but we're looking for quality that could last years, not something that's going to be up for a summer and then taken down. So anyway, got a lot of plans, a lot of things going on, people coming. And we're excited about what's going on here at the Pearl. We're also excited about this group, this community, and what we're doing here, because we're doing online what we are also doing in person at the Pearl, which is just creating a community where you're safe here. You're free to be you and to share your thoughts and your opinions that probably don't match up in other places. I'm excited because not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, so 2 weekends from today, the 29th, will be Jenny Byers. Jenny, I'm going to not say a whole lot. I'm going to encourage you to watch the show, because it is definitely out of the Christian box for a lot of people. And but again, we're in a place where we're wanting to learn to love everybody, right? Doesn't mean we have to accept what they believe or teach or do, but we want to learn to truly, honestly, just love people where they're at. And so Jenny is a sweet, sweet soul. I don't know if any of you have heard of Sasha Stone. Maybe heard that name? Yeah, she's been on his show a couple different times, and I think anyway, so they're good friends, and so she's got a lot to share, a lot of stuff that I thought was very powerful. And I met her up in Birmingham probably about 6 weeks ago, something like that, when I went to that thing in Birmingham. So anyway, it's been really good. She'll be on. I encourage you to watch that show when it comes up. And then another show I'm going to squeeze in somewhere, I'm just going to throw it out there, is going to be Nicholas Sargent and myself talking about the Pearl, because he's going to be moving here in November. He's coming here tomorrow to help with the work week, but he's going to be moving here in, I said November, it's September. He's going to be moving here. And anyway, we're just so excited about what Father's got laid out for us in this world and in this plan and the Pearl and everything else that's going on. So encourage you to stay tuned and stay in touch. Let's see, anything else? The website, gilhodgesfreedom.com. Encourage you to go check that out. It is not complete yet. You know, there's still a lot of links that aren't connected. But like even right now, if you went over there and you went to the show tab, that show tab would show this show going live right now. So you could go over there and or maybe tell your friends to go over there and go to the show tab, go down to the live section, and this show here that is going out to Facebook and YouTube would be available there. So that's another thing. And that community that I told you about is we're starting to get it put together, starting to build on it, but there's going to be a community inside the website so that people who are interested in what's going on here, how to deprogram, how to be authentic, how to be free, how to find the happiness that you've been looking for, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing. And part of it just comes from being free and not being judged and not feeling like you're judged, but rather just being able to do the things that God puts before you on your heart. And you know, again, we're looking for people who are after the heart of the Father, after the heart of God, that love, right? Christ consciousness, I believe, is the love of God, and it is in everything. It permeates everything. So, John, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to get the spelling of Jenny who?
Jenny Byers, Byers.
Byers. And Jenny is Gen?
Gennie.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I can find her on YouTube probably.
Probably. I think she's out there, pretty sure.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, I think that's all I've got. That was quite a bit. But anyway, go check out the website. We're getting those links put together, and hopefully they will be all functioning within the next week or two. And we will be on our way to, you know, the rebranding of things, and just again, the whole idea is helping people find their freedom, their authenticity of what it means to be you in Christ. You know, how did God create you? You know, that's how we should be. And unfortunately, we've been programmed so much by the world, we've lost who we are meant to be. And so I think the journey as we finally awaken becomes rediscovering and awakening and remembering who you actually are and who you were before you came here and who you're meant to be while you're here. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and shift on over into our meditation time, unless anybody has anything else. Anybody have anything else they want to share or any questions? And I'm not sure, I don't know how to shut off the dinging. These are all coming from, looks like, oh, okay. There's conversations on Telegram. Keep popping up on my thing, and I don't know how to shut them off. All right. Well, love you guys. Are you guys ready? All right. We're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna probably be departing to help with the work week. And John and Evelyn are going to take over and take you guys into an awesome discussion, as they always do. So Here we go into worship. So I just encourage you to relax, and we're going to slow down. So just begin slowing down. I encourage you to let the breath work. Let the breathing help calm you down, help slow you down, help bring you into a place of peace, peace of rest, peace and rest. So we're going to take those deep breaths, those 3-part mind, soul, body breaths. We're going to clear the chakras, the energy centers from the bottom all the way through the top. So we're going to take a deep breath starting in the diaphragm, then into the chest, and then as if into the head. Hold that for a brief second or two, and then imagine blowing that air out the top of your head. And as we focus on the breath, what happens is everything else begins to fade away. So that's why it's important just to focus on the breath for a moment and get yourself centered. So here we go. First deep breath into the diaphragm, into the chest, and into the head. Hold it a brief second and then release it, but just imagine that breath going out the top of your head and all those energy centers from the bottom to the top being completely cleared, cleaned, and aligned. And as you do that, I just want you to drop into a place of peace, deeper rest, deep into the heart of the Father. Just relax in His arms. Be at rest and be at peace. Another deep breath. Hold it, and as you let it out slowly, just bring yourself into deeper and deeper rest. Let every muscle in your body just go limp. Let your neck go. Let your shoulders go. Your abs and your low back and your chest and your upper back, just let everything relax. Relax your feet, your shins, your calves, your thighs, your hamstrings. Just let everything go limp. Let your body sink into the couch or the cushion or the chair. Just let everything go. Let's do this to honor our Father in heaven. You know, one of the greatest ways we can honor somebody that is honorable is to trust them. Trust them 100%. And that they would know that you trust them 100%. What an honor to know that you're trusted 100%. So I want you to trust the Father. I just want you to let yourself go. And just to fall deeper and deeper into His arms, into the arms that guide you into His heart, deep into that quantum space, that field of pure, holy, righteous energy, the heart of the Father. Just let yourself go. Trust Him. And just let go. Deep breath. I know that on this Father's Day, for a lot of human beings in the earth realm, for a lot of them, Father's Day is maybe a little bit more challenging. And I know this is so simple, sounds so simple, but just for a moment, I want you to let go of any of the things where you feel that you were wronged, where you didn't get what you should have gotten, where you feel like life dealt you something unfairly. I'm going to ask you to let it go. So we're going to just picture ourselves in the throne room with the Father, His Son, Holy Spirit, and you're standing before them, and there's that gray box on the floor. This is a great opportunity. Go ahead and just let those things go. Those things, again, where you don't think life was fair, maybe in the Father that you received, or maybe there was that one incident where something happened and it's always stuck in your mind. Maybe it's time to let that go. Just put it in the box. And for right now, I'm going to ask you to just put everything in that box. Your Father, put your Father in the box. Let him go. Let him go into that box right now. Let him rest. Let yourself rest. No longer carrying the burden, carrying him. And then I want you to give him the biggest blessing you could ever give. I want you to put the lid on that box. I want you to give that box to either Jesus or the Father or the Holy Spirit. Give it to one of them. Maybe give it to all three of them. But the biggest blessing that you could ever give your Father is to let him go. Let him go into the Father's hands. Let the Father bless him. May your energy connect with the Father's energy to bless your Father. And just to lift them up, raise them high. Lift them up and raise them high for the Father they wanted to be, for the Father they meant to be to you, the loving, kind, gentle, edifying, encouraging Father that they wanted to be. And perhaps now even you might begin to see your Father's perfected self in the heavens. You might see him walk out from behind the thrones of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And as he approaches you in his full, completed self, perfected in every way, and listen to the words that he would say to you, because the words in his perfected state that he would say to you would be to ask for forgiveness for some of those things that he did, for all of those things that he did that were not right. And that he would express nothing but love for you. Just listen to his words. Let him bless you. Just receive those beautiful words, the encouraging, edifying words. This is your true Father. Choose to forgive your Father who fell victim to the world's programming just as all of us have. Forgive him and accept this perfected state of your Father who's blessing you right now. Perhaps he's laying his hands on your shoulders and looking into your eyes. Just receive his blessing. Because in this perfected state, he's giving you the best that he ever was meant to be. He's giving that to you. Encouragement, alignment. Just be blessed. And deep breath. Relax. Just receive what he's speaking to you. So beautiful. It's time to release those things that hurt you. To walk into your authentic self and the freedom to be you. To not allow your earthly father's words, your mother's words, anybody's words to restrain you and keep you from being who you're truly meant to be. Be free. Choose freedom today. Choose joy, choose happiness, choose goodness, purity and holiness. Be who you are called to be. And deep breath. Suck it all in. Receive the blessings. Release anything that's prevented you from walking in your fullness. Take another deep breath, and as we come back from this one, as you let this one exhale, I'm going to go ahead and bring your attention back to this realm. So deep breath. Bring your thoughts and your attention back to your body, back to this space, this place. I'm going to ask if anybody has anything they'd like to share. That was really powerful for me. Again, I don't have any agenda on these things, and that was really spoke to me. So, John, go ahead.
Yeah, it was powerful. I went through memories and connected with my dad who left us when I was 15 to be with his Father in heaven. And I went through different times in my life where, because of my dyslexia, my father wasn't too pleased. He didn't know about that. He told me I didn't understand your disability. And he was sorry. Yeah, he was really excited and pleased at where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I went back to a memory where we were making hay, and I was raking the hay with a team of horses, where you sit on a thing and you pull this thing up and down when you make this path. And he was with the tractor and the front end loader, gathering it up and putting it on. And at that time, he never said anything about the good job I did, but this time around, he told me how proud he was of me.
Wow. What a blessing.
And that I did a good job, and he was very pleased.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't that
so
beautiful?
so healing, and I understand that he did his best when we're going through this on earth.
Right.
But now he has a higher perspective, and so do I.
Mm-hmm.
So I sense that deep healing and connection, which enables me to be a good father to my kids and my grandchildren. So I'm very blessed, and I just thank Jesus for being there with me, and the Father for being there with me through everything that I went through. And I say Happy Father's Day to my Father in heaven and my Father who is Father of us all.
Amen.
Thank you for letting me
Amen.
share,
So good,
even
John.
though I'm very emotional about it.
So good. So good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you, John. Thank you. Maxine, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. My God. And while he was here, he was
Maxine, I'm sorry. I don't think we can hear you very well. The microphone seems muffled or something.
Is this a little better?
A little bit better, yeah. I think we can understand you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my daddy has been gone for some time, and I know he's in heaven. And I, ju- I feel you.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, this has been healing and challenging. Just know that your true Father, Father in heaven, as well as your earthly fathers, have all loved you and coming here with an intent to be the best father they could be. You know, we've all been hijacked by the programming of the world, and so we want to have grace and mercy for one another in all areas. Maxine, thank you for sharing. Thank you. Bless you. Bless you. Anyone else want to share anything? I think that was pretty powerful for a lot of people. It was powerful for me. I heard the words I needed to hear. It was good. Janine and Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a really powerful one, isn't it? It's a really powerful space because so many of us have had wounded areas because, and I mean, we can have compassion.
Yeah,
Many of us have been parents as well, and we know how much we wanted to be something that at times we were not able to, you know.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, and I just wanted to share. I'm actually in partnership with my dad in heaven. I have seen his perfected self. I have interacted with his perfected, and he's actively involved in massive healing that is going on in my family right now. We're seeing
Wow.
things that we never thought would be possible that Papa is doing, and my dad is excited and partnering in that. And it's really interesting. Um, it's just interesting that depending on where you're coming from, that impacts what you see.
Oh, it
You know,
does.
because in the past, the first time I encountered him, I was like, "Oh, I am out," and I like shut the door.
Mm.
I because of past wounds, and I just wasn't ready yet. Um, and so I have other sisters that are kind of in that position now, and they perceive things very differently in what they experience versus what I am experiencing now of his perfected self.
Mm.
Um, I wasn't actually even meaning to share that, so I don't know who that was for, but
Mm.
there is so much beauty in the cloud of witnesses partnering with us. And,
Yeah.
and what Christ did before the foundation of the world for all of us, and whatever language you want to put to that,
Yeah.
because there is no condemnation.
Right.
I mean, we've all had a heart, like you said, to love that way. Um, really
Yeah.
beautiful. I appreciate you taking us through that.
Yeah.
This is the first Father's Day for me that I have been peaceful
Mm.
all the way too, and just kind of in playful conversation with him about it, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so good. So good. You know, I had no intent of going where we went, but I don't come with an agenda when we're doing the meditations, and that was a surprise to me, and it really, really spoke to me as well. It was really powerful. Blessings. I'm going to go to John and Evelyn, and then we'll go to Jeanette next. So go ahead, and John and Evelyn.
I went through a lot of inner healing with folks about my relationship with my dad, which wasn't perfect and wasn't good and so on. Today, for the first time, I saw my perfected dad, my healed dad, dad that wasn't under such oppression. It was
Yeah.
bizarre. It was, and he said, "I love you," and that was really special. But you know, I'm one of those that I've been healed from a lot of that mess,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
yet this was just a brand new breakthrough for me to see him healed
Yeah.
or perfected, healed, you know,
Yeah.
and it was special. So, wow, thank you for
So
taking
good.
us there.
So good. Wow. Thank you. All right, Jeanette, go ahead. Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful place that we went. I think for all of us. I lost my father in 2003. Um, I cared for him for about 15 years, and until the time when he couldn't really get around anymore. And but he would always tell me, my father was born a Christian Scientist. It's not Scientology, but it's Christian Science. So there was no, little did I know back then, it wasn't like being in a box, because everything was just centered around God is love. God is love, period. You know? So before he died, he looked at me and he said, honey, he said, never give up on God is love.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that has, stayed within my heart, because, oh my goodness. And I do want to share too that a lot of you know that I'm here at the Pearl, and I'm caring for Gil's father, Vernon, and
Yeah.
he he really reminds me of my daddy. The same gentle spirit. Yeah. So I'm very blessed to be there for him and Gil. That's it.
I am so blessed. And my dad is very blessed to have you, Jeanette. It's been such a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful thing God's doing. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette. Marilee, go ahead. Marilee, for some reason your microphone's not coming through. I don't know if it's a setting on there, or check to see if your microphone setting is correct. I'll let you.
Now?
There we go. There we go. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I had a very demanding kitty that decided that he had to have his food right when the meditation started. But I'm learning to step into that meditative space wherever I am, whether I'm
Yeah.
doing, I don't have to sit down, close my eyes, have a special place, although that's preferable, but I don't have to be there.
Yeah.
My dad, I know the day he died, he was in a deeply remorseful space.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
our our growing up years was not easy at all. But somehow I always knew my dad's heart.
Yeah.
Despite whatever, I had a sense of his heart. And I find with both my parents now that I've healed. I've healed from all those wounds and misunderstandings and all of that. And I'm the one encouraging them. I'm encouraging them to forgive themselves, to move on from self-condemnation and remorse. It's just, and it's such a freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not to think, I'm not allowed to speak to the dead because they're not dead. They're alive. They're alive, and they are moving on. So I'm just, even here, just sending my daddy a big, big hug tonight.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Marilee. Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I'm going to be bowing out, as I mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and go. We got lumber to go by, and we got a lot of work to do to move things around in the barn to start building. So I just appreciate each and every one of you. And again, I just want to say Happy Father's Day, blessings to all of you, and look forward to whatever Father has next for all of us. It's a beautiful time, beautiful season. And I will, if anybody has any questions for me, for anything, feel free to reach out. Right now, the best email to reach me on is info@choicecommunity.org. That's the best one to reach me on. Or Facebook. You can hit me up on Messenger and Facebook. That's a good place too. So, all right, I'm going to bow out, and John and Evelyn are going to take over and continue the program today. And I will see you all next week, okay? All right. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, Gil.
Bye-bye.
Wow. So I want to do something with the recording, so I'll be right. I'll be there in just a minute. Stop. There's a couple tears in my eyes, so I can't see this as easily as normal. There we go.
Recording stopped.
And then we get to start it again, so we have a new
Recording in progress.
break, and no one has to edit. Thank you. Are there any more comments about dads? Go ahead, Janine.
It was faster to just raise my hand than to try to find the like, wait, where is it? Yeah, I did just want to say, I think it is it's an interesting space to be in, and also very important to sit with compassion with your own heart over those wounds that did happen. It's not about just sweeping that away and acting like that didn't happen, because you can observe that without judging your parent or whoever it is. You can say, okay, no, I really do see the pain of that. That's been a big deal for me, because it wasn't easy. Mine wasn't easy either. And recently sisters are starting to remember things that I'm the youngest, so I'd never heard of. And some of it is pretty appalling. I was 2 years old at the time. I don't consciously remember, but I would imagine for a 2-year-old, that was pretty terrifying and disorienting and all of those things. And to just sit with so this is where I wanted to go. I am sitting with that child, with my dad, with my father. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
My Father in heaven has both of us, but I'm with my dad and his perfected self, and we're sitting with that little girl, and he's held her and hugged her, and there's just been so much beauty in that I couldn't have imagined. And I've actually gotten to a space where I'm like, Dad, I have to admit, my whole life prior to understanding and experiencing these things, my big grief was I didn't really have a dad. I was lonelier when he was in the room than when he wasn't there, or more terrified, depending on what was going on, but even when things were calm, he didn't feel present. And I felt like I had missed out. And now, like, I wish that little girl had known that I was going to get to know him like this, because this goes so far beyond anything I could have had on this side of the veil, because we perceive ourselves as so separate because of the physical. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I just wanted to share that, because there is this incredible hope in Christ that we have not, no eye has seen, no ear has heard. Like, it hasn't even been something we've conceived of, because we have so perceived each other in the physical. And scriptures told us we don't do that anymore. We no longer perceive anyone through the flesh, but I don't think we've understood that, and we're now beginning to experience what that means. The concept that I have all of eternity to enjoy my Father in this way, just like, it far outstrips whatever I thought I lost here. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Oh, this is not the direction I expected to go, and it's so sweet. Um, and I'm already like processing some of the experience I had a few minutes ago, too. It's wow. Maxine,
Okay, can you hear me better now?
perfect.
It's just when Gil is on.
Is that it?
Um, I saw myself on Father God's lap as a big child, I guess, and he just would roll me up in his arms and was drawing me to his heart. And then my earthly daddy came out, and the things that were very small now that I was hurt with, I have totally forgiven him, and he thanked me for all the times that we would be driving or doing whatever, and I knew that he couldn't hear physically, but he could spiritually, and he thanked me for doing that in the spirit. And I think he just encouraged me to. It was it was very hard, and
Mm, thank you, Maxine. Yeah, sometimes I'm taken by surprise, even in a physical church service or even a movie. It's like I didn't realize this is one where I was going to need my tissues and handkerchief. And it's a sweet cathartic thing that happens. Thank you. Um, I had a sweet interaction with my son just a few minutes ago. He brought back our project truck and with some parts on it and things that he had done last night. We celebrated Father's Day yesterday, and so that was sweet. And it was like, excuse me, got a little teary because people are sharing these wonderful things about their relationship with their dad, and stuff. Um, but I want to hear what Deneen has to say, and I'll have lots more to say. We've got a picture. If you unmute, we can hear a description of that.
Oh, I'm talking to myself then because I didn't even know I was on mute. I was talking while I was showing the picture. Can you
Very
guys
good.
see this picture at all? Well,
A
no, this
little
is
bit.
better.
A little bit.
It's a graduation ceremony of some kind, or some kind of group.
This is a picture from 1954. My father was in the Air Force and in the Marines. And this is a picture of him amongst his platoon, 417, in Paris Island.
Mm.
Backdrop, my father was one of 3 African Americans. He experienced extreme racism, and he suffered. When he finally came home, he became an alcoholic. After serving his country, he was unable to process, the abuse that he had experienced, but he never ever talked about it. Mm-hmm. And I remember him being a very nurturing father. My mother was ambitious, and she was very career oriented, so to speak. So she ended up being someone that was top clearance in high security clearance in the government here in the United States. And so she traveled around the world and all that kind of stuff. And my father, because of what he went through, always felt inferior and insecure to my mother, right? My father was a poet, and he was very, very idealistic. And I remember as a child that he did my hair, and he was always like, it was like he did a lot of the nurturing. But as things progressed in his alcoholism, he became like a functioning alcoholic, because he ended up, working in a government job as well. I don't know how they were both connected to that during that time, because they were educated African Americans, so they ended up getting these nice jobs. So I kind of grew up in a multicultural environment, and my father and my mother never ever spoke to me about race in public. I mean, in private. And I never heard them talk about it publicly, but we were always a part of activist groups. But it was never activist groups that were that spoke negatively about any other culture. It was always about getting equality for themselves. And that's all I ever heard. So I didn't really experience anything that my parents experienced as far as being marginalized, because they've protected me from it. But I always understood it and knew about it until I became an adult, and I started working as a research assistant at Johns Hopkins. And I was devastated and of the racism that I encountered. Even though I grew up in a time when I was bused, so I was always in an integrated situation. I was bused. It never dawned on me what was going on. It never did. I say all that to say, with my father having all of that inside of him, he was very abusive to my mother. It was like he was unable to manage his rage. But yet it was this other side of him that was always protective and always loving. It was like he didn't like abuse me, but he grew up believing in corporal punishment. So we got spanked, more me than my sister. My sister, she barely remembers getting any spank because I was the oldest. So, and I was a handful too. That's not to make excuses for it, but considering he didn't know how to communicate, I can see me being the one that got it, because I was like defiant and rebellious and, all of that. But yet, the interesting thing for me is when I listen to people all the time talk about how they have a hard time reconciling with their dad, I just don't. And it's not because I'm a
a person that welcomes abuse or anything. It was like, it was something about him that I always knew that he loved me. It was like, that was so it overshadowed everything else. It was like, I always knew if I was afraid, I knew who to go to. If I had any trouble, he always protected his home. And he always demonstrated. He cooked, he did a lot of the cleaning, and he did a lot of the domestic things. And we went on picnics, we went to the beach. It was like, it wasn't until I got older when he didn't realize that I was too old to get a spanking, and he still was using the same methods, that I became angry. Because I was like, I'm a teenager. It's like, enough of this already, right? And so I remember one day saying to him, because I learned about these rights, I was a teenager in the 70s. And I said, you hit me one more time, I'm going to take you to the police. And I said in front of my grandmother, and my grandmother, of course, coming from a real institution of corporal punishment, because her situation preceded, and her mother had been a slave, right? So they, it was like that corporal punishment thing was ingrained in them. And so, but they were never abusive, if you can see the correlation. My grandparents never spanked me ever in life. It was my father, he was the only spanker. But they would, be in agreement with it and stuff. So I got really angry as a teenager because I felt like they were being complicit. Never thinking about how I did everything that they told me not to do. I thought that they were being complicit in allowing this to happen. So my dad, as the more I got, the older I got, the more distant that came between us, because my understanding, I recognized the abuse that he showed my mother, screaming at her and things like that. And I don't know if he hit her, because it seemed like he did, but I never saw it. But it just, in my mind, because of the rage, it just seemed like that was what was happening. It may not have ever happened. As a kid, you don't really cognitively kind of put stuff together in the way that it actually happens sometimes. So I just knew that he had two sides of him. So to make a long story short, my parents got divorced when I was in middle school, as they call it now. It was called junior high school back then. But my parents ended up they were better friends than lovers. My father was at every birthday, including my mother's, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, everything, all the time. And it was like we never not saw him. It was like he was always there. He stayed a part of our life, but he was a functioning alcoholic. I think it wasn't until I was in my 20s that my father stopped drinking. And that was because in my late 20s, because I had become an addict, and I started going to 12-step programs, and I took my dad, and he got clean. And he always attributed his sobriety to me. And so I had like this dualistic life going on. I've always when I talk about myself, my life is just so layered that, when I can tell one part of the story and people can always think that, well, that's her life. It is so much more. This part right here, I have never shared this part before. And I only thought about it because of everybody talking about their dads, and how I never really felt like my dad didn't love me. I just didn't like the fact that he disciplined me. Who would, right? And so I was really pissed off with him because of when I started getting information about, abuse and all that. Then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, he's abusing. I've never had it before. I started learning things, right? But we still always stayed very, I don't know if it was close, because my sister and him were very, very close, but we never had any, real discord amongst us, right? Other than emotionally, I was a little, not feeling like the little girl, but I always knew that if I had a problem, I could go to my dad. It was like I never not felt safe. I never not felt loved, but I just did not like his behavior. I just didn't like that. And so that was the only thing that I had against him. So he was here, and he had a twin sister, and he died in Kentucky, because that's where my niece lived. My niece is a nurse practitioner in Kentucky, and he started because he lost everybody in his immediate family, which was small. We have a very large extended family, but his immediate family, his mother, father, and sister, they had all died, and he started going to a depression. So we sent him to North Carolina, and the house that I'm living in now, I owned it. It was the house he grew up in, but my grandparents left it to me, but I never lived in it. And so we shipped him to Kentucky, I mean, and the last days of his life, I mean, the really the last day, he kept telling my niece, I would like to go home for a visit. He came here to Baltimore, and he came to my sister's house, and he died before I could get my clothes on to get to him. He died the same day that he got here. So I never got to see him alive after not seeing him for a while, because he lived in Kentucky. But he was so adamant about coming here. So he came here to the place he grew up, the city. And within hours, he laid on the sofa in my sister's house and just died. And that was the last days of my dad's life. We never got to have, any of these, talks that people have nowadays or anything like that. So, we never had that, but yeah. And I don't feel sadness or anything. I just realized that I was blessed to have a dad that loved me, even though I didn't like his methodology of raising me, and I didn't like his rage and anger. But I showed this picture intentionally, because if I had to live through this, I may have, had some of the same reactions to life, and he escaped through his poetry. And he did sets in jazz clubs, and he wrote all the time. He has tons and tons of writings, and he would always do poems at everybody's funerals, at everybody's graduation, at everybody's everything. Wherever there was a public, he wouldn't be on the program places. He would just go up and ask people, if we had a family gathering, he always had a poem. And then he started printing them out and handing them out to us. So he found his peace in poetry. And he was a very good poet, but I never appreciated it until he was gone. And I started reading over it, because I thought he used to embarrass me. I would tell my sister, I said, could he please stop doing this? This is like really embarrassing. And people loved it. They loved his poetry, but he was my dad. And I was kind of like wishing he would stop and stuff. So, but yeah, that's my recognition of dad. And yeah. I'm going to stop there. That's it. I told the whole story, and I didn't mean to, but that's it.
Deneen, thank you. I think that Marilee, please do post this particular recording, because it's got some really awesome things that people are sharing, and I appreciate it, Deneen. And I know that all of us will have in pieces of what we're sharing parallel experiences. I had an alcoholic father, so did Evelyn. And some of those things are like, I get that. Not that we get it all. I mean, because everyone's experience is different. But yeah, wow.
John, I just quickly want to say that last week's meeting, the main meeting where Deneen spoke, was posted on Gil's new page.
Oh,
On the
perfect.
That's where it is. It's not at all in the Zoom.
Or the Telegram either, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't do anything about that. It was not in Zoom. And I'm sorry I posted the afterburn so late this week. I've just had a wildly busy week.
Understand that. I am so grateful for the help that you give us.
It's
Thank you.
such a pleasure.
Yeah. Maxine, your hand is up next.
Yes. There's the day that my dad left, my sisters and I were at a nursing home, and he was very unhappy that he was there. And I left, and because they kept saying, well, he's gonna pass and all this stuff. And I left, and on my way home, I got a text from my sister that 6 minutes after I left, Dad left. So I was not there with him. But in the nursing home, they had people that would come in and sing songs and help kind of minister to the older people. And my dad played guitar, mouth organ, and one of his favorite songs was, I don't know if everybody knows this or not, come home, it's supper time. Well, this group came in and they were singing come home, it's supper time in this area where all the residents could go. And that was when he went home during the time they were singing come home. And I know that it was one of his favorites. His mom would play the organ. It was a pump organ where you had to pump with your feet in order to get the wind to go through it. And he would stand beside of her, and he was the youngest boy, and they would sing together. And he was a singer, and I've had songs going through my mind. And there's a song went through my mind the other night. They were my dad and cousins and some of his brothers would get together, play guitars, mouth organ, mandolin, I mean, all sorts of stuff. And I know the melody of this song, and I cannot think of the name of it. And I'm going, there's nobody here to ask. Because everybody that was playing in the get-togethers they're all not here anymore. But one little thing, and I don't know if he did this with my other sisters or not, but I was probably 3 or 4, and I had a little tin cup. I don't know why they did it, but I'd go around and they'd be drinking beer, and they'd put beer in my little cup so I could have to drink with them. So bless you, Daddy.
Boy, that's the way it used to be too. Wow. Janine and Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to share. My dad was a huge impact on my life, though, the way that we're all sharing. And I'm seeing recently that one of the big spaces where Father really used him to speak to my heart opened me up to this passion that I have at this stage in the process for sharing with people that, the truth is your true self is going to show up. Like you were saying, Deneen, he would show up as the loving dad and the nurturing dad, and then he would have these moments. And that was the nervous system taking over. That was fight or flight taking over. That was not who he really was, even here. Not even talking about his perfected self in heaven, but just his truest self. And I remember when my dad was getting close to transitioning, he had a form of dementia. It was, I would have said, alcoholic dementia. And it did break my heart at the time that nobody challenged his drinking, which would have reversed that. There were other things going on, but my parents, Dad was extremely abusive with my mother and had been, and they stayed together for 50 years. When I finally left the first marriage that was like that, my mom didn't understand me walking away from the abuse. And so I had all this anger and, that righteous this is abusive and that's not right. And I don't know why you stayed for 50 years with all of that and blah, blah, blah. But when I watched them at the end, you guys, talk about breaking your heart in two and then just kind of pulverizing it until it's tender, because there was a love there that I could not quantify. I remember at their 50th anniversary being ticked off, like, what are we celebrating? 50 years of misery. I was just like, keep in mind, this was 14 years ago. There's a lot that's transpired since then, but that's where I was at. I was angry, and I thought it was a mockery of marriage. And then after that, I watched her caring for him, and I watched him. He had a moment, a couple of them, where he had lost so much weight that his wedding ring would fall off. And he would go into a full blown panic until we could find that wedding ring and get it back on his finger. And she told me stories of, like, he kept trying to get out of bed. We're like, would you please stop? Because you cannot walk, But he could do enough to get out of bed, and then we'd come in and he'd be on the floor. And Mom, one time she said he was like, come here, come here. He wanted her to just sit down with him on the floor. And he just draped his arm around her and he just sat there with her. He just wanted to hold her. That's all he wanted. And then after a little bit, he was like, okay, all right. And they got up and got him back in bed. And I sat and I watched those things. And I remember being so puzzled, like it didn't equate with what my judgments of the situation, to see how much he actually loved her and that she really was the center of his world in a lot of ways. And they had built something together that I didn't see at first. That was the beginning of me starting to go, okay. And also at like his funeral, like the whole world showed up and they're just raving about what an amazing human being he is. And all I can think of is the abuse that I suffered and the things that happened. And like, that's not who he was at home. And why didn't he love us like that? And I just remember thinking, which one was the real him? Well, of course, I got carried on my own process of discovering that it was the true heart is the love. The true heart is the desire to do better and to have the family dinners. I did always see that. He wanted us to all eat together as a family, and I could never figure out why, because it ended up being a nightmare every time, but he had that desire. And I feel like I inherited a lot of things from him. And sadly, I had opportunities to see him in me that were the exact representation of the stuff that I had judged. Losing it with kids and things like that. I did.
Mm.
And I had to walk with Father through the process of forgiving myself. Which, of course, then you're looking at him and going, wow, so much compassion for how desperately he wanted to love his people and how incapable he was of governing that nervous system that would just freak out, and the anxiety that was so overwhelming. I just have so much compassion for all of us, because we really are moving into this space of going, oh, wait a minute, this nervous system is like, it's a bear. And we're like, dude, it's an email. Like, we're good. It's not a bear. I'm okay. We're moving into the space of recognizing that and learning to govern through breath work and different modalities, calm the vagus nerve down. But they didn't know that. They didn't know that. They were not at all equipped to walk that out. So I just wanted to share that. And then Kelly has got something.
I have a lot of compassion. I never even thought about how much my dad went through, and because he ended up going to the South Pacific and being in World War II. He was a Navy frogman, and he did several different things. And I heard stories. I'm the youngest of four. there's 11 years between my oldest sister, and then there's 9 years with my brother, and then there's 6 years between the other sister. So I'm the youngest by far. Um, and yeah, my dad, he was a big booming voice.
John Wayne.
Yeah.
Think John Wayne. Yeah.
We did a lot in the outdoors. We did a lot of family stuff, a lot of camping stuff. But yeah, he had a lot of him. He was he was on the side of like a verbally abusive, and they'd get him and my mother would get into it, and then he would yeah. Anyway, um, but I got to see a lot of the good side of him when we did a lot of outdoor stuff, hunting and fishing, and that's where my passion for the outdoors was. Um, but yeah, now that I think about all the stuff in the war all the stories he talked about, because he was a Navy and he saw all the Navy stuff, all the ships being, he said, you'd see these Japanese planes coming in, and they'd bypass everybody and head for the tanker ships, and they'd light the tanker ships up like candles. And he said it was just the death and destruction was just
Yes.
horrible. And he was on Okinawa the same time as his brother is 2 years older than him, and they didn't even know that they were there at the time during the war. And just all the different wow, because he came out of it being a gambler. I mean, he'd pay off gambling debts before he would pay off our
Feed the family.
feed the family.
Yeah.
And my mom was it was really hard. And but he had an eighth grade education, just a brilliant.
He was and is.
Yeah. And he he got the big C when he was in his early 60s. It was been over 30 years ago. And he fought it once, and the second time around he says, yeah, no, I'm not doing this.
He was done.
So he had the home health, the home nurse, and we spent a lot of time with him. And he knew God, and he professed God, and he really he told all of his grandkids and everything, I know where I'm going. And so I've had a lot of really good things with him from heaven. But anyway, and is just he to me, he was just he walked on water. I mean, he was just a heck of a man. So anyway, thanks, guys.
I would like to just make a quick suggestion that just something to put out there. And if you ever feel it in the spirit, when someone is sharing something really emotional like that, and we can all feel it, breathe with them. Take big breaths in and out with them. It's part of us learning the oneness that we are, and it really makes a huge difference. I was
thanks.
just going to mention that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that suggestion, and thank you for sharing. I think that we're all like reading from everyone's journal, little sections like that. And before we get to Marilee and John, I wanted to say that what I experienced today when Gil was leading I call them ascensions, the meditation, when I saw my perfected father come out from behind the throne at his suggestion, what I saw was a man whose problems and things that isolated us, those were gone. And I saw my dad, and not the stuff that afflicted him. And yeah. And then I wanted to say something for someone else, and I've forgotten who had that experience, but and it may have been anyway. Um, my friend George' mother was in hospice, and it was he was beyond himself trying to care for her, and his hospice workers said it's time for her to go, and she won't until you leave. Go take a walk for about 20 minutes and she'll be out of this misery. But she's not going to go until you're gone. I know this type, and they had experience with it. And that may be beneficial for some people. I just wanted to share that. I got that.
It was Maxine too, stuck in bed.
It was Maxine. Okay. Yeah, sometimes that's just the way it is. And it was the way with my father too, I think. Meryl Lee, you're next.
Oh, Kelly, that was very touching. My heart really felt that. It's a journey. Life is such a journey. And I was sitting here thinking I've gone through the entire journey where I couldn't even name the things that I went through in my home. And then to the place where you started being angry about the things that you went through. And then through the pain of what you went through, and so on and so on, to the place where I am now, that I don't want to share what they did. I don't want to share what I want to protect them. I don't want to voice and bring back into beingness through voicing it. All those things. I so forgive them. I so love them. I so honor them because I see who they are. I see who they are. And I know that both of them, because of the deeply caring, sensitive people they are even now battling to forgive themselves. They were both totally followers of Christ, but as we know, they had no idea of any psychology, no idea of how to deal with all their wounding. It was just not available to them. And we are so privileged to live in the time that we are living in, where things and revelation and understanding and insight is unfolding at the pace that it is. We are deeply, deeply privileged. And we are privileged to be able to be authentic and not to be put into a box by society anymore of Victorian parlor games, of Victorian tea parties where you behave just so, and all the rubbish, I want to say all the crap is swept under the rug. We can be, because whatever transformation happens not because I'm such a goody-goody. I'm not. Whatever transformation happens because He is doing it in me. It's His grace, it's His beauty, it's His love that will transform me. And for those that are on the page, the Afterburn page, they will see a picture there that I've posted of a very old tree that out of the center of it grows a new tree. And we are not looking at the rot that's happening on the outside. we are we are new creations, and all of that stuff is just stuff. We just let it go. And yeah, what a special evening. I'm so grateful I'm here.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing a picture on Telegram. We'll get that out to people who don't follow Telegram. That's awesome. Usually I have lots to say, and now I'm kind of speechless. John Weens, you're next.
Okay. I just want to honor my father, maybe brag on him a bit, because he was such an awesome man. He was born in Russia, and he came to Canada when he was 17 years old during the Bolshevik Revolution to escape from. He probably wouldn't have even lived if he would have stayed there another 10 years. Because the place where his half sisters and his mother were dropped off in Anzurk in Siberia, and once they were settled, the army came and grabbed all the men, and they never saw them again. So I'm grateful for him escaping. Otherwise, I might not be here. I wouldn't be here with this name, or I would have probably chosen a different family. So he was a very I would call him a community builder. What he did in the community, like, he was a very self-taught man. He was a musician. He sang. He had a book on vocal singing. He conducted the choir at church, and he conducted the children's, like the children when they were downstairs. He sang with us all the time. And in the community, he was a mechanic. He knew how to do mechanic stuff, and he'd help the neighbors. I remember one time he was in town, and the mechanic in town was having trouble set the timing on a tractor, and he says, "Well, can I help you a little bit?" And he went in there, and within a half a minute, he had set the timing perfect. And when he was the first one in the community to get a tractor and a combine, and when he got those, they said, "What are you going to do with those things?" And when he got the combine, a self-propelled combine, he cleaned off his field, and then he went and cleaned everybody else's field off too. So that's what that's for. And we didn't have refrigeration at that time, so he organized a beef rink where he would butcher the animal. Every week, a different person would bring a steer or a heifer, and he'd trade the heifers for steers that we had, and butcher them and give them the extra meat. And so we all had little tanks where a hole where we put ice blocks in, and that he developed those things. And when electricity started coming on in 1958, I was born in 46.
Wow.
He went around everybody convincing them to get electricity. And the last thing that he was trying to do was the phones, but he died before that happened. And he died when I was 15 in a dynamite explosion, because he and a couple other farmers went and bought, when the steam trains went out of commission, he and a couple of guys went and bought the water tower for lumber. And one of the things that he had to do was, he was a blaster. He knew how to operate dynamite. It wasn't like he did something dangerous. He blasted them, and all the cement blocks blew up, and the last one they lit it in the morning, and it didn't go off, and it didn't go off. They waited till dusk, and finally he and his one of the other farmers that was with him, they were kneeling by it. They were going to relight it, and then he saw that it was going to go off, and he threw himself on top of it and smothered it, which saved the young farmer's life that was beside him. And that's how he left. He laid down his life for his neighbors, helping them, and he truly was a man of God. I remember neighbors, friends coming together, and they'd study the Bible together, and they'd always talk in Russian if they ever talked about the Russian experience. I think that's when they talked in Russian because they didn't want us to hear it because it wasn't that good up there. So he was always involved in the spiritual things too. We were raised, he'd have Bible study, or he'd tell us Bible stories and teach us the 10 Commandments and stuff like that. So I honor him for being a community builder, a choir conductor, and he probably taught Sunday school. I don't remember that one. I think he just did the music part of the church. And he was a school trustee, so he was very involved in the community. Looked upon as a leader in the community, and when he passed away, like our neighbors would tell us, he'd borrow money from them, and he wanted to give a promissory note. They just say, "No, your word is as good as anything." He never, he was honest as the day is long. So I honor my dad, Peter Weens, for who he was and what he left behind and what he instilled in us to be generous. And I believe that's where I get my compassion from, to help others and reach out to other people who are in need. So I thank God for giving me a father who wasn't